Our speaker today needs very little introduction. Congressman Crist is the former governor of Florida, and he currently represents Florida's 13th district. Congressman Crist is running for governor in 2022. Thank you, Congressman, for joining us today, and welcome to the Villages Democratic Club.
Well, thank you very much. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be able to be with you. Thank you to Mike and Chris and Amy and everyone that's on the call this morning. What a privilege. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to visit you in this format. I look forward. I guess you said that your next meeting in July is going to be your first in-person meeting. Congratulations on that. A lot of people have worked very, very hard for us to be able to get to this point in America and in Florida, obviously. And I just want to give kudos to the Biden administration, as you did earlier, Mike, and talk about all the jobs that have been created just since he and Kamala Harris have been inaugurated. It truly is a blessing and really a testament to their hard work, the hard work of Democrats all over the country, frankly, that really came together and turned things around. It gave us the opportunity to have a president with a steady hand, with great experience, really understands and is compassionate about people. I know President Biden. I've had the opportunity to work with him during the Obama administration and during the present administration. In fact, Mike, I was in his office about 3 weeks ago, really there as former governors were invited that were in Congress and former members of Congress were invited. And about 10 of us were there with the president. And it was an extraordinary meeting. Pete Buttigieg, of course, was there as well, Secretary of Transportation, to talk about infrastructure. And the enthusiasm, the excitement that the president conveyed to each and every one of us was extraordinary. I mean, this is a man who has compassion and empathy like probably no one I've ever met in my life. And when you look at his life story, his personal story, what he had to deal with when he first got elected to the Senate, the loss of his wife, loss of a daughter, and then later in life, the loss of his son, Beau Biden. It's amazing what he has endured. And it's incredible, the uplifting spirit that he still has in spite of all that loss and struggle. Really serves as a beacon of hope and light to our nation and to the world. Of course, he's attending the G7 meeting as we speak in Europe and, of course, doing great work and representing the United States so very, very well overseas, something that we have desired and needed for the past 4 years and really haven't had, as we all know. And I want to congratulate you, each and every one of you, by having a Democratic club in the Villages. Villages is kind of known for being a bit red, as we all know, but you are beacons of hope. You are beacons of light, and bring that light to the Villages. A beautiful place to live. I've been there many times in the past. I look forward to getting there to visit with each and every one of you in person as soon as possible. So I've launched this campaign for governor. I know that Florida deserves better. You do too. Unfortunately, we have a governor who is interested in suppressing our right to vote. I was watching CNN about an hour ago and saw it announced by Merrick Garland, the new Attorney General of the United States, that they're going to be tracking these new voter suppression laws in Florida, Texas, Georgia, and other states that are trying to make it harder for us to vote. I saw the cartoon that you displayed earlier. How difficult Republicans are trying to make it for all of us to exercise our precious right to vote. I should share with you on a personal note, today, June 12th, is my father's birthday. He turned 89 years old today. He and my 86-year-old mother enjoy mail-in voting. Thank you. Enjoy mail-in voting very much, as many of us do. I do included. And what the governor signed into law not very long ago, just a couple weeks ago, makes it harder to exercise the right to have a mail-in ballot. You have to sign up for it every year, and that's wrong. Just making it with more obstacles, more roadblocks, if you will, to exercise that right to vote. And this is really at the heart, I think, of what is happening in Florida. You know, we had a great election last year. Everybody said it was virtually flawless. Yet the governor and the Republican legislature put it upon themselves to start out and try to correct a wrong that really hadn't happened. I mean, they're finding solutions to problems that don't exist. And why? Because they don't want us to vote as much as we like to vote. They want to make it more difficult. They want to put those drop boxes in places not where minorities traditionally would be. People of black and brown color, and that they're doing that is absolutely appalling. I call it anti-democracy. It is anti-democratic. It is anti-democracy, trying to thwart our opportunity to exercise this precious right to vote. Now serving in Congress, representing St. Petersburg, Clearwater area of Florida, I can tell you that earlier I had the opportunity to serve with John Lewis. What a hero, and God rest his soul. But one of the things he always talked about is that we need to stand up. We need to speak out. We need to be heard when, parts of government are trying to make it more difficult for us to participate in democracy. And he said that the right to vote is precious and it is sacred. And really, no matter what issue we're talking about, a woman's right to choose, protecting our environment, having good public schools for our children, each and every one of those issues are dependent upon one issue, the right to vote, and the opportunity to exercise that precious right, as John Lewis expressed it. So I want to thank you all. I just finished up a statewide tour, starting in Tampa, then to Orlando, then to Tallahassee, and to West Palm Beach, Broward County, and then to Miami. And it was all about voting and the right to vote, and this bill that the governor signed into law that really tries to make it more difficult. And during the course of that tour, I learned from a lot of people about how important this issue really is and what a difference it can make in the 2022 election. And, people are excited. I feel the energy when I go around the state. They're eager to vote next year. They're eager to get the governor's office back and make Florida flip blue again. This can happen. And with your help and all of our energy, I know we can make it happen. So on the last day of it, yesterday, I had the opportunity to be with Miami Beach Mayor Dan Gelber. When I was governor before, Dan served as state senator. Great man, great public servant. I remember him coming to me, Mike, when the 2008 presidential election was happening in Florida. Seems like a while ago, but really was almost like yesterday. It was President Obama's first election, as we all know. And I remember getting a phone call from then Senator Dan Gelber. And he said to me, during the closing days of that election, Governor, can you see on TV in Tallahassee what we're experiencing here in South Florida, primarily South Florida, but other parts of the state too, these long lines where it's becoming increasingly difficult to cast our ballot. And he said to me, Governor, I think you need to do something to make it easier to vote. And I said, well, Senator, what would you suggest? And he said, how about an executive order expanding the hours of voting so that these people who have waited hours and hours to be able to vote, and then 7 o'clock in the evening comes, they don't have the opportunity to do so. And it was heartbreaking to watch. It was hot. I mean, it is Florida after all. And even in November, it can be pretty darn hot, as we know, in the Sunshine State. And so as a result, I did sign an executive order. We expanded the opportunity and the hours of voting. People were able to cast their ballot in a safe way. And the result was Barack Obama became president of the United States. It's amazing what you can do if you have determination, if you have drive, if you are tenacious and persistent. And I think that, this law is already being challenged in the courts, the one the governor signed on suppressing the vote. And Legal Women Voters, among others, sued on behalf of all of us to have that opportunity. Then, as I mentioned earlier, our new Attorney General, Merrick Garland, is going to be scrutinizing each and every one of these laws to make sure they don't violate any federal laws, to abridge our right to vote in open, free elections with integrity. And so I'm very excited about that. I'm very pleased about that. One of the things I talked to Dan Gelber about also was the vaccine distribution, or the lack of it, if you will, under Governor DeSantis. Never really had a plan, wouldn't advocate wearing masks. I mean, it goes on. And really it was left to local leaders to protect our fellow Floridians. The numbers, over 37,000 of our fellow Floridians have passed because of COVID. That's tragic. It's awful. But I wonder how many more would have passed if local mayors, local county commissioners wouldn't have stepped up to the plate as they did to make sure that we had a safer environment for our people, better protections for our citizens, to make sure we got through this horrible pandemic as quickly as possible. And God bless President Biden. The distribution of the vaccine that he brought about has been extraordinary. And so many lives have been saved as a result of that. And when you think about the vaccine itself, what a miracle that it could be developed that quickly. I think I mentioned it's my father's birthday, but he was a family doctor for 55 years in St. Petersburg, where I grew up. And he used to always tell us about the fact that, ordinarily a vaccine takes 4 or 5 years to develop. This one was developed in less than a year. That really is a miracle. And thank God that happened. So many lives saved as a result of that. And I think that's very important to recognize our local leaders who kept us more safe than the governor did himself. That's why we need a change. We need a governor who cares about people. A great president once said that our government's supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. Well, this governor and this Republican legislature seem to be doing things for the corporations, seem to be doing things and trying to address problems that really don't even exist. The governor signed a trans bill recently regarding sports and children and keeping them from participating in sports in our state, which just is not a problem, and it's cruel. It really is. He did it on the first day of this June Pride Month. On the second day of Pride Month, June 2nd, he vetoed funding for the survivors of the Pulse massacre. I'm in Orlando today to go to a really remembrance of that 5 years ago tragedy that happened in Orlando, Florida at the Pulse nightclub, and the 49 lives that were lost that night and that morning. Horrible tragedy. But the governor vetoed funding that would have helped those who are surviving cope with what they're having to deal with and get health support. It's just cruel and unusual. I don't understand it. And you may have read recently about bridges that wanted to light up in the rainbow colors, and the Florida Department of Transportation denied them the opportunity to do so. I think they tried to reverse themselves on the one up in Jacksonville. But these are the kinds of things that just show that we have an out-of-touch governor. We have a governor that doesn't really stand up for people. Civil rights. It goes on and on and on. And that's why I'm running to be a governor for all Florida. And we call it the Florida for All campaign, for all our people to participate, for everyone to be respected. And it really does come down to that word, respect, mutual respect. Most people want the same things. They want a good education for their children. And by golly, in Florida, they want to keep our environment clean. I know how beautiful it is in the villages and all over the state. We've got to make sure that we stay focused on that and have that, because our economy depends upon a clean environment. You know how dependent we are on the tourism industry, and it's very important people come down here because Florida's so beautiful. We got to stay focused on that and make sure that it's a priority always, not just sometimes. And I touched on public education. Last evening, I spoke to the United Teachers of Dade and the hard work that they have done. It's been a tough year for our schools. A lot of them having to operate virtually as we are today. But they did it, and they persevered, and they got through it, and they got our children the education that they deserve. But they need to be supported more. They need to be funded more, and teachers need a raise. They deserve it. I had 3 sisters, 2 of them public school teachers. So these things matter. They do make a difference. We can change Florida and turn Florida blue because of you. You are the people who really inspire me to run hard, to everything we can to make sure that we have a leader in the governor's office who appreciates each and every one of us and respects all people. We're all children of God. I can't thank you enough for having me. If you have a few questions, I'll do my best to answer them. But God bless you, and thank you for having me again this morning.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman. Rick, can we open up the room for any questions?
If you want me to, I can let other people unmute themselves. But
how about, Congressman, how about if we have people send questions to me by email,
Okay.
and I can send them to Jonathan for you to reply.
That'd be wonderful. Be honored to do it. And again, I can't thank you enough for letting me be with you this morning. I look forward to visiting you, as I said earlier, in person. It's an exciting time. It's going to be a great race. Excited about Val Demings running for the U.S. Senate. I think we're going to have a great ticket come November of 22. I really do.
Okay, we had a question here. I can't get to that though. Let me find that. Chat window is, why is Social Security eventually taxed at 85%? Is a good one. There's a lot of retirees down here.
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. Listen, I turn 65 next month, so I'm sensitive to the issue as well, of course, as we need to be for everybody. But I think there's really a double tax on it. I mean, it seems to me that all our lives we pay into Social Security. It's something that we support, that we need, and that we deserve. And yet, later in life, when you get benefits from Social Security, you're taxed on it again. Well, you were already taxed on it when you made the income originally. So I have filed legislation on this issue, on taxing of Social Security and how high it is, to reduce it and have it only be a one-time tax and make sure that we don't have to suffer through this any longer. Great question. Thank you so much for it.
There's one more here, Congressman. What can you do about the restrictions on amendment number 4?
Oh, great question. So, returning citizens, if you will, former felons who have paid their debt to society, should have the opportunity to get their rights restored so that they can participate in democracy. When they're nonviolent crimes that they've been convicted of, and they really do pay the debt, then you need to make sure that that debt is honored, that it has been paid, and they get their rights restored. One of the participants in our meeting yesterday in West Palm Beach was a former felon trying to get his rights restored, unable to do so now because the legislature, in their infinite wisdom, little sarcasm there, made it more difficult to get rights restored, even though the will of the people was exhibited in that constitutional amendment, significantly over the 60% threshold that's required now to get amendments to the Constitution adopted. The people of Florida won it. The people of Florida voted for it. And it's obvious to me that the legislature and the governor just don't care about the will of the people. And they're doing things that don't make sense, that aren't helping us, that are hurting us. But here's the truth. When I was governor before, along with the cabinet, the help of the cabinet, we were able to essentially get back automatic restoration of rights. And in my 4 years as governor, 155,000 Floridians got their rights restored and the right to vote. Then under Governor Scott, now under Governor DeSantis, it's dwindled down to the single thousands versus 155,000 in 4 years. It's whatever. If you have the will to do what's right and get things done, we can make it happen. And I am convinced when we get the governor's office back, when we get more seats in the Florida House and the Florida Senate, we'll have the opportunity to turn these things around, get rid of the roadblocks that they have put up, and bring a brighter day to Florida's future.
Thank you, Congressman. We appreciate your time. We know you're a very busy man. And I know that you need to be off in 1 minute. So we thank you for your time. And hopefully we can schedule you again before the election.
I look forward to it. Thank you all very, very much. God bless you. Keep working hard. We're going to get this done. Thank you so much. I love you all.
Thanks a million. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.